Thinking of investing, working, or starting a business in the cannabis industry? We've got you covered right here on Plant Problems. Hosted by Tony Frischknecht, Plant Problems takes a different approach to cannabis than what you're seeing and hearing from the mainstream media. Come along with Tony and be in the know about how to invest, work, or start a cannabis business. Let's get the show started with your host, Tony Frischknecht.
Good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening. This is Tony Frischknecht with Plant Problems. I am glad you guys are joining me today. In this episode, I want to discuss financial startup capital. If you're starting your business, usually this is one of the biggest hurdles you have to get over. Simple fact of the matter is you're excited, you got a new business you're starting. I think this is probably one of the biggest areas where people get hung up. The fun part is figuring out, okay, how am I going to build this? What am I going to do? And then you start breaking down the numbers and you look at the fact that you either have a little bit of money or you have no money. I would say there's a significant amount of the population that ignores it altogether, until it really comes to putting something together. It took me a long time to figure my finances out. I grew up, I would say, poor, back as much as I can say that around people that were around me, I would say we had the least amount of expendable income or extra income at all. My father was a carpenter and he spent a majority of his time working in his business and not on his business. And it took me several tries to understand what that meant. I think up until around 2010, I started to kind of understand finances. When I started my grow, I had income coming in from the work itself, but I really had no idea what I was truly spending on my personal stuff and, just to live day to day, eat, keep a house over my head, stuff like that. And, I had a CPA of mine, a good friend, started kind of talking to me about how I needed to have budgets and stuff. Well, most people hate to hear that word budget. Budget is it's not fun. It's like going on a diet, right? And so if you're going on a diet, who wants to do that? Well, of course, nobody does. So it really forced me, when he was pushing that on me, it really forced me to think about everything in my life and how I was going to achieve it. And I really appreciate it because it might be simple to a lot of people out there, but it was not to me. I pretty much have been living paycheck to paycheck my entire life because I didn't know any different. And having somebody he didn't show me directly, he just kind of explained it to me. And then I kind of took it from there. But as I was building up my business, I wasn't receiving a whole bunch of income, but I at least knew what my overhead expenses to pay for my lifestyle were. And then anything extra was going towards the business. It's still this way now until either the Safe Banking Act or federal legalization happens. It's still to this day that there's no loans for people in the cannabis industry. It's all private money. We're starting to see money come out from a little bit of stock market. There's some IPO stuff happening. So stuff like that is happening now. But there really was nothing back then. So we had to be really careful with our money. And, the flip side of that was we couldn't really go in debt because we could only spend what we had. I think we're starting to see some of those examples starting to happen, especially up in Canada. I read an article at the beginning of the year. I believe the company is Essence. They were struggling financially, and it's only been legal in Canada for a year. I think these guys are really, from what I've been hearing, is they're under the gun when it comes to keeping up with compliance. I don't want to go too far off course. I'll cut back to the finance side. But with compliance, you don't really realize how much it takes to keep up with that. And depending on which state, what country you're in, everybody's rules are different. I think we averaged about 20% of what we brought in was going towards compliance. That's almost like another tax. It was ridiculous, but you had to do it. Well, before it was regulated, you didn't have that tax. So you actually had some income. So there's a tax piece. And you also had to pay your employees, your overhead, and everything else. So it really left nothing left. And I think what we're starting to see financially is these guys didn't realize the burden of the compliance and what it's going to put on their business. It's all great out there, guys. I understand everybody's like, well, I've got projections and I've got, projections are great as kind of a guide, but when it comes down to it, it's performance and how you perform in your company. And what happens at the end of the month when you have to pay everybody? You find out real quick, their can trust just had to destroy $77 million worth of flour. And I mean, I've had to destroy $250,000, and that was killing me because we needed the flour to sell. And I believe Can Trust, that's what got them in the situation. They, from what I've been hearing up in Canada, is that their legalized system is suffering right now. We're not hearing much about it down here in the United States. And I can see that that's going to be spreading down to the United States. Once we go legal, you're going to start seeing companies that have all this promise and they're going to be going under, which is unfortunate, but it's also a part of capitalism. And one of the great things that makes the U.S. awesome for opportunities for you out there that are looking for investment opportunities. I think that time's going to come very soon. So let's go back to the finance side. So finances, if you don't know what your living expenses are, I would get on that right away and make sure you understand how you're going to feed yourself while you're building your business, or at least have a side job. I had several side jobs while I was doing this too. Some people say, well, I got to focus on all my efforts on my business. Yeah, but you also have to eat. And so you really have to work your second job as much as possible to feed yourself. And all of your extra time goes to your real business. There's a Facebook group that I recently joined called Side Hustle. It's interesting because there's a ton of people on there that I believe are really looking for something side to work on, like Uber, stuff like that, or Amazon sales, just to be able to afford a little bit of extra. And I'm sure some of these people are going to be able to take and their side hustle and turn it into something bigger. But for now, it helps them with their gas money, and it helps them with, even if they're saving up for something. I know so many people that are afraid to work a couple jobs, and they have the time for it. If you have an extra few hours here a week, there's so much opportunity for that, what I call the side hustle. And these opportunities are out there. So feeding yourself. So figure out how you're going to feed yourself while you're building your business, because the stress of that can easily kill your dream. It'll also give you excuses not to build your business. Well, I got to do this. And, you got to change your mindset and understand, hey, these problems are going to happen. So have a plan in place to decide, how am I going to overcome these issues as they come along? That way, when you are in the thick of it, or what most people like to call the trenches, that way when you're in the thick of it, you're building your business, you're not concerned about, what am I going to eat for dinner that night? It's just going to come about. You're going to have the money for your budget. You're going to use that and eat, and it's not going to be a problem. I think it's a great stealer of success, is not having those little plans in place. And I'm talking from my experience. Like I said, I had to learn all this stuff on my own, especially if you're out there starting your first business ever and you happen to be starting in cannabis. Well, power to you, man. That's a lot to take on. So I applaud you for for taking those steps. So you got your finances in place. Now you got your business. Okay. Well, you got to start doing some research and seeing what kind of money you're going to need for your either grow, your extraction, or your product manufacturing. All these things are expensive. I think I spoke about what kind of business you're going to be in one of my other podcasts, and understanding the numbers is really researching these. There wasn't a lot of information out there just a couple of years ago, but now we're starting to see statistics and what it takes to. There's a company out of Boulder, Colorado called BDS Analytics. They have some really solid information. They have some paid information, free information. But from what I'm seeing is the quality of their information is good. And there's several others. So I would just go in and look online and see what else is out there. There's also these production companies and these event companies. They also are gathering information from a lot of the people that are subscribing to their newsletters and stuff like that. So there's plenty of things out there that you can take advantage of to understand the numbers. You know, being able to truly break this down to what makes sense. I don't care if you have a spreadsheet, Google Doc, pen and paper, whatever you have, put those numbers down so you can really look at them. And always give yourself a cushion because there's going to be unknowns throughout this. And if you don't have a lot of money, which most of us don't, look for opportunities in underdeveloped markets. There are starting to become, Colorado's a developed market. There's no way if you gave me several $1 million at this point, I wouldn't go into business in Colorado. Just saturated. The opportunity's not there. I would take that several $1 million and go somewhere where it is, where the opportunity is, right? Where people aren't looking. And that's where you're going to be able to stretch your dollar the most. You're also going to put yourself in a better position when it comes to selling or partnering up with another company, whatever you decide at that time. It's going to be different for everyone. But the finances are going to, it's going to help you be successful. Nobody goes into business saying, I don't want to be successful. They go into business, I'm going to be successful. Well, there's a lot of tools that everybody uses for so many other parts of their life. Finances for every part of your life. And I would suggest if you don't have anybody to talk to, reach out to some guys that are either CPAs. Spend a few $100s talking to these guys. Spend some time trying to figure out what is going to work best for you. Because it's silly. If you're going to be cheap about spending $300, $400, $500, $600 exploring what kind of finances you're going to need, you're not willing to invest in your company or yourself. That's a huge waste of time and it's a big loss. So you got to get out of that mindset that you're investing in your business. When you think about how much it costs for this advice, that's crucial advice for your success. Again, you went into business to be successful, right? So following that up with being able to have your plan in front of you and your financial plan is what's going to help you sleep at night. As an entrepreneur, you're going to be woken up all the time. And I want you to be able to sleep at night. Your family, especially your wife or whoever, your partner in your life, whoever may be your significant other. If you have that plan in place, you're able to show them, and that's going to take stress off of you. That stress is going to help you to be able to think clearer and make better decisions. So I do talk about this in my book, From Black Market to the Man. You can go ahead and visit my website, or you can go on Amazon and find it there. But this is a little something that I think the 20 minutes that you're taking to listen to this should be some very helpful information for you. So really appreciate you guys listening in, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.
You've just listened to another insightful episode of Plant Problems. If you like what you heard so far, don't forget to tell your friends and colleagues. For additional resources or to leave a review, head over to plantproblem.com. Join us again next week on Plant Problems with Tony Frischknecht. We look forward to having conversations with you as we go along this journey.